For more on President Trump's meeting with Xi Jinping, let's bring in Jeff Moon, former assistant U.S. trade rep for China, founder of China Moon Strategies, LLC. Jeff, welcome back. Thanks for the help today.
Thank you.
So how are you absorbing some of these early readouts? What's important?
Well, first of all, trade is clearly a top priority right from the beginning. As the president deplaned at the airport, who was behind him? It was the CEOs. It was Jensen Huang and Elon Musk. It wasn't the Secretary of State or other officials. And just this morning, of course, the administration representative talking about the visit was Secretary Bessent on your network. So trade is at the forefront. The real question is, what is the purchase list going to look like? Today they had 2 hours of meetings, which is really just 1 hour with consecutive interpretation. The real issues are going to be discussed tomorrow in small group meetings. But I think that the trade issues were largely resolved in South Korea by Bessent and He Lifeng. My experience is that trade negotiations with China go up to the very last minute, so they could be continuing as we speak. But as they get rolled out, I think that there will be a modest number of purchases that are expected with no major breakthroughs.
Right. So you would say, if you had to describe the summit in general, would you use the term modest?
Yes. I think just enough, but not too much.
And is there any reason to believe that purchase commitments for whatever commodities or airplanes we get will be more easily enforced this time around?
I don't think so. I mean, one thing that hasn't been highlighted in the press coverage that I've seen is the $200 billion of purchases that were promised in January of 2020 under the Phase 1 deal. Those all seem to have been forgotten. And those certainly included a lot of the goods that we're talking about right now in terms of purchase commitments.
The other big quote that's moving around is from President Xi. He says the Taiwan question is the most important issue. If mishandled, the two countries could face confrontation or even conflict, pushing the entire China-U.S. relationship into a highly dangerous situation. How interesting is that line to you?
I was an American diplomat for more than 20 years, and every major U.S.-China meeting starts with the Chinese statement that Taiwan is the most important and most sensitive issue in U.S.-China relations. And they mean it. Remember, in 2020, Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan as Speaker of the House, and the Chinese basically suspended bilateral relations for the better part of a year. It took us a long time to dig out. So this is extremely important. I think and the attention that we're seeing in the Chinese press to this is basically a negotiating tactic to try to pressure Trump to relax our Taiwan policy. And I think Trump should see it that way, and he should stand firm.
I was going to say, but obviously this is a huge economic risk when it comes to semiconductors. So, I mean, what is the U.S. able to do here?
I think we're going to take on board their views, say that we understand. There may be a statement of the One China principle, which is very carefully choreographed. The language, should be read by the president, not blurted out extemporaneously where mistakes are possible, and stick to that. Stick to our existing policy.
What do you expect tangibly on this board of investment that the Treasury Secretary talked about?
I think the Board of Investment sounds an awful lot like the Joint Commission on Commerce and Trade that existed for 35 years until Trump abolished it at the beginning of his term. I know because I participated in the last session of it, and it was a mechanism to coordinate trade between the two countries. It addressed non-sensitive kinds of issues. Is that the Chinese would participate and talk, but the progress would be meted out very incrementally, just enough so that we could say that there was progress from year to year. And that was the problem, that it got a reputation as being a talk shop. And I would like to see, one, what are the differences that we're going to have with this Board of Trade, and how are we going to ensure that it actually does something? Over the 35 years, they raised the level of the officials involved, and they did various other things to try to make the process more accountable. But it's very difficult with a China that is determined not to make change.